Part 17. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 161. Wu Wei had a strange look on his face. Teacher Chiao had no time to remind him of this tonight. Of course, he couldn't say this to his sister in detail, so he could only be vague and fool her. Sunday, the 12th day of the 12th lunar month. Wu Wei slept until noon, and when he got up, there was no one at home. Xiaochun naturally went back to the village to work. He didn't expect Zishun to go to Xinhua bookstore so early. This girl is so hungry for books. After Wu Wei washed up, he had a simple breakfast. He completely disposed of the remaining yellow eels in the bucket brought back from the brick kiln factory. These are all good things, just right for Qiao Yuyan's tonic now. Moreover, after bringing them back for so many days, the ones that can be left are all big. The smallest one is also the size of 3 fingers thick. After a busy day, the eel segments chopped out are as much as half a basin. It's particularly exciting to look at. Unconsciously, it was noon. Zishun, who had disappeared for the whole morning, finally rode back humming a song. "Where have you been for so long?" Wu Wei sat in the yard, looking at the coal stove and said. Zishun stuck out her tongue and said, "As soon as I arrived at Xinhua bookstore and saw those books, I unconsciously forgot the time." Wu Wei looked at her empty hands and said, "Where are your books? Didn't you buy any?" Zishun said slyly, "I found that the books in Xinhua bookstore can be read at will, so I didn't want to buy them." The fact that the youngest sister can have this little bit of mercenary cleverness at least shows that her inferiority complex is gone. This is a change that Wu Wei is happy to see. So Wu Wei did not object, but just followed her words and said, "But some books are very classic and suitable for repeated reading. They are still worth buying and collecting." Zishun hummed and said, "I know, second brother." Then he rubbed his hands and said, "What else is delicious today?" Wu Wei said nothing and lifted the lid of the pot. Zishun's mouth watered immediately. "Wow, fried eel slices with scallions, my favorite." Wu Wei smiled and said, "When you go to college in the future and leave the county, there will be so many delicious foods outside. It's too early to say it's your favorite now." Zishun said stubbornly, "In my opinion, the second brother's is the most delicious." Okay, Wu Wei laughed and said, "Don't be a good kid, wash your hands and eat." When Zishun came back from washing her hands, Wu Wei served half a bowl of eel slices and half a thermos bucket as usual. Needless to say, Zishun knew, "Am I eating alone again at noon today?" Wu Wei knocked on the youngest sister and said, "Isn't it good to let you eat alone? Didn't you like eating alone the most before?" Zishun pursed her lips and said nothing more. Seeing this, Wu Wei couldn't bear it and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely eat with you in the evening." Half an hour later, Wu Wei appeared downstairs of the teacher's dormitory with a thermos bucket. See Qiao Yuyan's bed sheet fluttering in the wind in the sun. It looked like she had just washed. When he looked up, he saw someone in the dormitory on the second floor. Wu Wei shouted, and sure enough, he saw Qiao Yuyan running out in joy, standing on the balcony, waving at him vigorously. Although it has been proven in practice that honey becomes sweeter the more you eat it, Qiao Yuyan was inevitably worried that she would get tired of the old and fall in love with the new. Until she heard Wu Wei's shout and saw him coming with the thermos bucket as usual, she finally put her heart back into her stomach. Wu Wei went up the stairs and saw Qiao Yuyan standing at the entrance of the second floor, waiting gracefully. When Wu Wei went up to the second floor, she couldn't wait to hold Wu Wei's arm, and they were inseparable. Arrived at the dormitory door, Ma Jiajia looked at Wu Wei meaningfully and said, "Yuyan didn't even have lunch, waiting for you to bring it." Wu Wei smiled and still greeted, "Teacher Ma, let's eat something together." Ma Jiajia came over to take a look, stir-fried eel slices with green onions, blood tonic. Then she said sarcastically, "Boss Wu, You are really considerate. You insist on eating what you need to replenish your blood. Xiao Yuyan blushed and immediately exposed her best friend's secret, saying, "Didn't you replenish your blood a long time ago?" After hearing this, Ma Jiajia sighed instead. Perhaps it was because she replenished her blood too early that it was so difficult for the 3 golds to be obtained later. If she had handed herself over later like Yuyan, maybe she would have gotten the 3 golds without missing a thing. Coming to her senses, Ma Jiajia waved her hand and said, "You guys eat, I won't be your light bulb anymore." After saying that, she hurried away. Seeing this, Wu Wei was quite satisfied and said, "Your good girlfriend is becoming more and more sensible. Let's give more gifts when we get married." Xiao Yuyan seemed to have planned it in advance and said, "No need to give more gifts. I plan to buy her a set of bedding." Wu Wei did not object, but only said, "If you don't have enough money, I have it here." Xiao Yuyan's mouth had been blocked by the eel slices, and she could only shake her head. After Xiao Yuyan had eaten and drunk enough, Wu Wei returned to the courtyard of Bei Road with the thermos bucket. Then he saw Zheng Lao's wife, Auntie Sun, coming over. Wu Wei looked surprised. "Auntie, why did you come here?" Auntie Sun quickly stood up and said, "Master Wu, you didn't leave a contact number, it really made me look for you." Wu Wei thought, he left it? At least Section Chief Song and Section Chief Tang, as well as the last few orders when the furniture was delivered, left the phone number of the old lady next door. At that moment, he didn't say anything, and just said, "Madam, let me get you a glass of water." Aunt Sun pointed at the table and said, "Stop working, your sister is down." Then he got straight to the point and said, "Master Wu, it's still about the Simmons bed we talked about last time. I discussed it with Lao Zheng and decided to make one for Huimin regardless of whether we can have a grandson or not, giving them the best is the best. We have fulfilled our responsibilities as elders." Wu Wei smiled. He said he was not in a hurry, but in fact he was still anxious in his heart. When he married his daughter-in-law on National Day, Wu Wei thought that Huimin's daughter-in-law was already pregnant. As a result, until now, there has been no movement. It's no wonder that old man Zheng and Aunt Sun were anxious and wanted to seek medical treatment in a hurry. This feeling is understandable. Wu Wei suppressed his smile and asked no more questions. "Okay, ma'am, I will immediately notify the carpenter to call you urgently." Aunt Sun suddenly looked grateful. "I really caused trouble for Master Wu. It's the size of the room on the 2nd floor. Let's see how big the bed can be." Wu Wei said without hesitation, "I remember the measurements, don't worry, I can't make a mistake." After sending Aunt Sun off and returning to the main room, I heard Zishan muttering the words feudal superstition there. Wu Wei immediately criticized and said, "If it weren't for the feudal superstition, how could your second brother and I have placed more orders for Simmons?" Zishan said decisively, "What if I get pregnant before your dream Simmons comes out? Will I not want it by then, leaving you with all your work in vain?" Wu Wei said firmly, "That's not possible. The Zheng family is not like that. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 162. Even if it is. Wu Wei is not worried about not being able to sell this extra European Dream Simmons mattress. After all, there are quite a few furniture orders on hand now, so there is still room for maneuver. 3 days have passed in a blink of an eye, January 14th, December 15th. Zishan dressed up early in the morning and prepared to go to school to get her grades. Judging from her posture, she is determined to buy a TV. As soon as Zishan left, Wu Wei and Xiaochun returned to the village together. As a result, as soon as he arrived at the village office, he saw Xiao Ziyi waving at him and said, "Just right, I have something to talk to you about." Wu Wei quickly opened a pack of cigarettes and handed it forward, saying, "What's the matter, Ziyi?" Chiao Siyi took the cigarette and habitually touched the light in his pocket and said, "Didn't you ask me to help you figure out the antique furniture? Look, I just got a clue yesterday." As he said that, Siyi shouted inside, "Yang Jun." Soon after, Zhang Yangjun ran out from inside, and his face looked older than Siyi. In fact, he was only in his 30s. Wu Wei knew him and handed him a cigarette. Then the fourth master said, "Tell Xiao Wu about it." Zhang Yangjun took the cigarette, but he didn't dare to call Xiao Wu. Instead, he changed his words and said, "Boss Wu, the clue I'm talking about is a 5-drawer chest in my neighbor's house, made of Wanghuali wood. According to his family, it has been passed down for many years." Wu Wei asked, "How is the quality?" Zhang Yangjun smiled and said, "One of the legs is broken. It is said that more than 10 years ago, in order to prevent it from being smashed, it was hidden in the cellar and gnawed by mice. The legs of the chest of drawers are not very long, so it's not a big problem if they are gnawed off a little." Wu Wei knew what he was talking about, so he asked directly, "How much do you want to sell it for?" Zhang Yangjun scratched his head and said, "Before it was gnawed, his family passed it down as a treasure. Now it's missing a leg, and a brick needs to be put under it to use it, but they didn't take it seriously." After hearing this, Wu Wei was about to go and take a look with Zhang Yangjun. As a result, fourth master Chiao interrupted and said, "If it were you, you shouldn't show up for this matter. Let Yangjun buy it for you." Wu Wei paused, looked at Zhang Yangjun and said, "Brother Zhang, is it okay?" Zhang Yangjun gritted his teeth and said, "Yes. I'll go to talk tonight." Wait until Zhang Yangjun left. Wu Wei laughed and said, "Fourth master, I didn't show up for this matter. Isn't it a bit unfair to the owner of the furniture?" Fourth master Chiao said disapprovingly, "It's originally a broken piece of furniture, but you treat it as a treasure. But you can rest assured about Yang Jun's vision for furniture. If he says it's made of Wanghuali, it won't be wrong." Wu Wei waved his hand, "Of course I don't worry about this." Leaving the village office, Wu Wei went straight to the Chiao family compound. Under the warm winter sun, Master Chen Yuejuan and Lu Hong, as well as fourth master's wife, gathered together. Each of them had a basket and were knitting wool. It seemed that there was always endless wool to knit at the end of the year. Seeing Wu Wei coming, Chen Yuejuan said, "Your master is basking in the sun in the courtyard. Xiao Zai is here too. You can go in directly." Wu Wei greeted Lu Hong and the fourth master's wife, and then said, "Then master's wife, I'm going in." Entered the courtyard. Sure enough, the fourth senior brother Zai Ke was sitting under the eaves with the master Chiao Wei. The gift he brought was placed at his feet. Seeing this, Wu Wei immediately said, "Hey, fourth senior brother, you gave this gift too early, didn't you?" Zai Ke stood up and greeted him, "Isn't it because I'm afraid that if I give it together with you guys, it will make me look inferior? So I gave it early." Wu Wei laughed and handed over a cigarette. After receiving the cigarette, Master Chiao Wu was about to stand up and said, "It just so happens that the money from selling fish is almost collected. I'll take it for you." Wu Wei hurriedly took a few steps to hold Master Chiao Wu and said, "Master, you just rest honestly. Don't always act like you're asking for money as soon as I come." Then he added, "It just so happens that senior brother Yang Jun said that there is a 5-drawer chest made of Wanghuali wood, and he will bring it to me tomorrow. I can save the money from taking money from home tomorrow if I leave it with you." Master Chiao Wu understood and said, "This 5-drawer chest has been repaired, are you going to send it to Elder Zhong?" Wu Wei sat down next to the master and said, "Of course not. After all, we owed him such a big favor for the meat processing plant project. Although Elder Zhong was forced to do it, I can't not show my appreciation." Master Chiao Wu nodded, "It should be, it's just the end of the year, there's no harm in walking around." The three masters and apprentices chatted and smoked. Before they knew it, it was noon. Master's wife Chen Yuejuan came back from outside with the baskets and said hurriedly, "I almost forgot about you three. I'll cook for you now." Zike stood up to leave when he heard this. Then he was persuaded by Master's wife to stay. They were all Master's apprentices. If Zike really left, Wu Wei would have to follow him. Otherwise, it would seem like favoritism. Just then, Chiao Kuliang came back in a hurry on his bike. As soon as he entered the yard, he couldn't wait to set up his bike and brought a thick album to Wu Wei for review. Wu Wei took a quick look. The first two sets were the real-life renderings of Section Chief Song and Section Chief Tang's homes. The printing effect was really eye-catching and impeccable. As for the ones taken at the village office before, they were not wasted and were still attached at the back. But the focus was on the transition from the overall to the details. Wu Wei looked at the back and pointed to the printed albums of details and asked, "Third brother, whose idea was this?" Chiao Kuliang was worried, but he still said honestly, "It was my idea, what's the problem?" The next moment, Wu Wei suddenly praised, "What a great idea! Well done." Then he pulled Zike and said, "Fourth senior brother, for the album that third brother made, we have to have a drink and have a good celebration." Chiao Kuliang also echoed. Speaking of which, Zike could only stay as the tide went. As soon as everyone sat down under the eaves of the corridor, Zike thought, "Boss, since the furniture of the two section chiefs can be made into albums and used for advertising, then the small Western-style house of the two section chiefs, isn't it? Can we also make an architectural drawing?" Without waiting for Wu Wei's response, Chiao Kuliang immediately agreed, "Those two small Western-style buildings are really beautiful. If you really make a picture album and show it to others, your construction team will be able to do a good job in the future." Wu Wei nodded, "Yes. Third brother, please help me. This time I go to the two section chiefs' homes. Don't be empty-handed. How much does it cost? I will reimburse you later." Chiao Kuliang patted his chest and said, "No problem, I'll take care of it." As a result, Mr. Chiao drew inferences and said, "I would say that you should take more photos of the new factory building of the meat packing factory. That shows our construction capabilities and level of medium and large buildings. There are also welfare housing for the cement factory next year. These are the top priorities for publicity." It was obvious from Mr. Chiao Wu's tone that he looked down upon those small Western-style building projects with single houses. Instead, they pay more attention to large projects such as factories and buildings. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 163. Wu Wei can also understand the master's thoughts. After all, after eating delicacies from the mountains and seas, who cares about that mouthful of white flour steamed buns? Just as this matter was discussed, it began to develop in an uncontrollable direction. Mr. Chiao even said in person, "I heard that you are planning to set up a furniture factory after the furniture orders start. Then why don't you, our bricklayers construction team, consider setting up a company, set up a signboard, and work openly with the county construction station?" Zike immediately followed up, "Yes, boss. We have a company. At least we should have more confidence when introducing it to the outside world. It's not like now, like the gorillas, shooting and changing places." Wu Wei laughed and said, "Even after setting up a company, our construction team still has to fight gorillas, working on one project and changing locations. At least for this little project, setting up a company is making a mountain out of a molehill. We can't just make a big show of it and use tiger skin as a banner just to save face." These words extinguished most of the passion between Mr. Chiao Wu and Zike. but Wu Wei did not suppress it blindly, and still left a glimmer of hope. If there is an opportunity in the future to take the project to other places or special economic zones, we will set up a company to make it look good. Zike asked, "Is this really possible, boss?" Wu Wei said without hesitation, "Of course. I promised Master that I would take him to see the steel forests and skyscrapers of the future. These two things will not be possible in our small county for a while. It is only possible to go to special economic zones or big cities." Speaking of this, Master Chiao's heart, which had just cooled down, suddenly became warm again. It's rare that this kid still remembers this. In comparison, letting the fourth brother be proud for a year and a half is not a big deal that cannot be tolerated. Not long after, the food was served. In a short time, Chen Yuejuan cooked 4 dishes and 1 soup. I can't say it's rich, but it's not enough to keep everyone occupied. In addition, a bottle of Maotai is also very delicious. Full of wine and food. Zike rode away immediately, and Chiao Quilian couldn't wait to ride back to the county town to do his work. Wu Wei took the opportunity to return to the fence yard and caught a rooster and brought it back to the county. For rural families, 1 rooster is enough. It's no use having too much, let alone fighting and making noise. The chirping one after another in the early morning is also disturbing to listen to. As a result, as soon as I returned to the Beihai Road courtyard, I saw Zishun coming back, holding the report card proudly in his hand. The brother and sister entered the room, and Wu Wei took the transcript and looked at it. It's really good. In terms of total score, there is a lot of improvement compared to before the summer vacation. Looking up, Wu Wei did not forget to ask, "What's your ranking?" "Third in grade." Wu Wei murmured, "It was the end of last semester." Before Wu Wei could recall it, Zishun said with familiarity, "13th grade, this time improved by 10 places. After the new year, I am ready to be steady and take one step at a time." In fact, Wu Wei is already very satisfied with his 3rd grade. After all, girls are inherently weak in mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and it is difficult to compete with boys. What's more, this is the 3rd grade in the only key middle school in the county, and the gold content itself is not low. So I couldn't help but smile and said, "It's good if you can maintain this level. Are you planning to be the first in your grade?" As a result, Zishun said confidently, "Teacher Chiao said that I have this strength." Talk about CAO. CAO arrives. As soon as Zishun finished speaking, Chiao Yuyan rode a kunkar into the small courtyard. Looking at this posture, it seems that he didn't even go back home and came directly. Wu Wei walked out and said, "Just in time, I'm going to take Zishun to buy a TV set. Let's go together and we'll eat here in the evening. I'll cook a rooster." Chiao Yuyan stopped the car but said to Zishun, "There is a TV at home, but it can't affect your studies. You want to be the first in your grade." Zishun nodded heavily, as if he had already won the first place in grade. But at this time, Wu Wei was not disappointed. He locked the door directly and took the two of them straight to the department store. Compared with people's shopping malls and county supply and marketing cooperatives, department stores have more types of TVs. Not only that, there are also some few imported brands. These days, domestic color TVs are quietly rising. However, the limelight is still firmly occupied by imported color TVs and cannot be shaken. Wu Wei looked around and picked out a Hitachi 20-inch color TV. As a result, when Zishun saw the price of the TV, he couldn't help but secretly gasped. It was 2,100 yuan. Even Chiao Yuyan, a teacher, didn't have the courage to stare at the price. A mere color TV is actually more expensive than Sanjin, which weighs so much. Of course, there are also cheap TVs that cost more than 1,000 yuan. Not only is the size smaller, but the color is also much inferior. The two of them were getting excited when they saw that Wu Wei had already paid and returned. Xiao Yuyan said with emotion, Zishan, your second brother didn't say anything to you. You asked me to buy it, but I bought it without saying a word. Zishan felt the same way. Although she earned this TV through her academic performance. But for such an expensive price, the second brother said nothing and just paid for it. She still felt quite a shock in her heart. Think about it, half a year ago, my family was still a poor family who didn't even have enough to eat. It all depends on my second brother's hard work over the past 6 months. Now he is no less than those city students in the class who are well off. A 20-inch color TV. In Wu Wei's opinion, it is not very big, even a little small. But it is not small when packed in a cardboard box. It took a lot of effort to tie it on the back seat of the 28-inch bicycle. Fortunately, the distance from the department store to the courtyard on Beihai Road is not far, and it is all good roads in the county town. Wu Wei carried it back smoothly on the 28-inch bicycle. As soon as he got home, his youngest sister Zishan couldn't wait to move a bench and wait in front of the 8 immortal table. Wu Wei had to take the TV out of the cardboard box with the help of Yuyan, put it on the 8 immortal table, plug it in, and start to change channels. As a result, the first one he turned to was the 1983 version of The Legend of the Condor Heroes. The picture was not very clear, but when Wu Wei heard the BGM, his blood boiled. It was too classic, so classic that it was deeply embedded in his DNA. Wu Wei repeatedly adjusted the antenna until the picture barely stabilized and the faces gradually became clear. Looking back, Zishan and Yuyan had already been deeply attracted by the plot. It is indeed a classic play. The two did not see the beginning and did not know the ins and outs of the story, but they could still watch it with relish. Wu Wei quietly went out, picked up the rooster, went outside, and chopped it down with an axe, and it was gone in a flash. Then he cleaned it up in no time and chopped it into small pieces, which weighed a full 3 pounds. This portion is not small. After all, it was a rooster given as a gift by others, and the foundation was there. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 164. Until the aroma of chicken fills the entire courtyard. Xiao Yuyan only looked away from the color TV, returned to the small courtyard, and accompanied Wu Wei to review. This is so embarrassing. Just now I advised Zishan not to delay studying because of watching TV, but I didn't expect that even I couldn't control myself. Wu Wei put his arms around the beautiful woman's slender waist and rubbed it. What's so embarrassing about this? You are in the curiosity stage. Once you see more, you will naturally have self-control. Xiao Yuyan was so charming by his touch that she couldn't help but get close to her and said, I originally said that I would stay with you after I've been busy for a while. I've just been watching TV for a long time. Then the conversation changed, otherwise, I won't go back tonight and I'll just stay here with you. Wu Wei said expectantly, I don't mind anyway, after all, I haven't eaten enough of this honey yet. But you are not afraid that master, and the others will come to your door in the middle of the night and sneak you back? Xiao Yuyan couldn't help but be excited. This was really possible. Wu Wei patted the millstone and said, it's okay, the days are long. In 2 days, isn't it Teacher Ma's wedding? Xiao Yuyan looked happy. Yes, I have to be her bridesmaid. While talking, Wu Wei fried another plate of cabbage and cooked artificial meat. It is said to be artificial meat, but it is actually a kind of bean skin, which tastes a little meaty. Nowadays, Wu Wei's family is not short of meat. This kind of bean skin was mainly used by Wu Wei to accompany the Chinese cabbage, so that dry frying would not be too monotonous. It was getting dark and it was just past 6 o'clock. Zishan looked away from CCTV's children's program Tangram and moved his sore neck. Seeing Wu Wei entering the room with braised chicken, he couldn't help laughing and said, no way, you don't even miss children's programs. But Zishan was confident, I didn't watch it when I was a kid, so I had to make up for it. After dinner, Qiao Yuyan grabbed all the pots and pans. Zishun didn't get involved and returned to the TV, watching the news broadcast and continuing to understand the world outside the county town. That whole body is unconscious and the energy is devoted wholeheartedly. Even the second brother and teacher Qiao didn't notice it when they were tired in the yard. It wasn't until the news broadcast ended that Wu Wei took Qiao Yuyan back to the main room and said, "I'll send teacher Qiao back and pick up your third sister. You're home alone, so lock the door." Zishun said without looking back, I know. More than an hour later, Wu Wei left and returned, bringing Xiaochun back with him. As soon as I knocked on the door, I heard a loud commotion in the main room. After a while, Zishun came over and opened the door angrily. The one with the fearful eyes was obviously not the second brother Wu Wei, but the third sister Xiaochun. Xiaochun heard Wu Wei talk about color TVs along the way, so when she saw the imported color TV as big as the main room, she didn't show much surprise. Instead, she asked with all her face, "Have you been watching TV?" Zishun denied it. "No, as soon as the second brother sent teacher Qiao away, I started reading." Xiaochun nodded with a slight expression on her face, and then went to the water room to wash up. Wu Wei walked to the TV and touched the back. It was hot to his hands. Obviously this girl Zishun is lying. Upon seeing Wu Wei's actions, Zishun was immediately dumbfounded. It turns out that if you want to secretly watch TV, you can't hide it. Early the next morning, as soon as Wu Wei rode into the village headquarters, he saw everyone gathered around and pointing. Seeing Wu Wei's arrival, Zhang Yongjun immediately came over and said, "Boss Wu, I've got the chest of drawers for you. Come over and take care of it." Wu Wei parked his car and spread smoke in a circle for everyone. Only then did he have time to look at the dark chest of drawers in front of him. It really doesn't look very outstanding, and the surface is also full of traces of time. But the wood is indeed Huanghuali. This alone is worth Wu Wei's action. Seeing Wu Wei's eyes, fourth master Qiao began to chase people away in order to make room for Wu Wei and Yang Jun to negotiate the price. As a result, Wu Wei heard that the other party only offered 300 yuan, and he agreed immediately. So much so that fourth master Qiao didn't have time to take action even if he wanted to lower the price. After the two parties reached an agreement, Wu Wei took out 300 yuan directly from his body and settled the money and goods with Zhang Yongjun on the spot. There is no need to go to master to get money. Even so, fourth master Qiao still did not forget to mention the third apprentice, Yongjun. "Xiao Wu is just looking at your face, so I won't even pay back the price. According to me, with such good quality and broken I won't give you even 100 yuan for a leg." Zhang Yongjun said with a look of shame, "Master, I understand. Don't worry, I will make it clear to the neighbor to prevent him from going back on his word and making a big noise. The last hidden danger is gone." Wu Wei immediately took out a bag of huazi and handed it to Zhang Yongjun and said, "Thank you, senior brother." In front of the master, Zhang Yongjun did not dare to accept it directly. It was not until fourth master Qiao opened his mouth that he reluctantly accepted it. Fourth master Qiao turned around and asked, "How about strapping this chest of drawers to your car?" Wu Wei shook his head and said, "No, I have brought all the scraps. I plan to repair it at the village headquarters while the tools are complete." Fourth master Qiao suddenly realized, that's right. If there is any problem, we can study it together. Wu Wei said with full confidence, "With you always holding the battle, then I will let go of my hands and feet." Fourth master Qiao felt particularly comfortable hearing these words. As a result, when Wu Wei actually started to work, fourth master Qiao found that he could not help at all. In some places, he was still thinking about how to start and how to repair, but Wu Wei had already started. Without any hesitation at all. It was ridiculous that the carpenters in the workshop were still waiting to see Wu Wei's look of being at a loss, but they didn't know that his vision and sense of propriety had far exceeded theirs. At least in the repair of old furniture, he was impeccable. Before they knew it, it was noon. Xiao Yuyan came over coquettishly and said with a face full of blame, "You are here, why didn't you say anything? I heard from the villagers that you were here." Before Wu Wei could speak, fourth master Qiao said first, "Didn't you see that Xiao Wu was busy?" Qiao Yuyan said unwillingly, "Fourth uncle." Four master Qiao immediately surrendered and walked away, saying, "Okay, okay, I'll leave now, so as not to delay you young people from dating." When fourth master Qiao left with his hands behind his back, Wu Wei wiped his face and said, it's my fault, seeing so I was so excited to see an old antique. Plus, they didn't ask the master for money, so I didn't go over to say hello." Xiao Yuyan's pretty face eased, and she pulled him over and said, "Can you come home with me for dinner now?" Wu Wei was surprised and said, "Master's wife cooked for me. Not only for you, but also for Xiao-chun. Call Xiao-chun along. I'll go ask." As a result, when Wu Wei walked over, he saw that Xiao-chun had already started eating with Xiaokan, Maling, and others, and asked him to eat with them. Wu Wei went and came back, and saw Xiao Yuyan looking at the chest of drawers with relish. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 165. Xiao Yuyan was a little upset. For such an ugly thing, he didn't show up for the whole morning. Who wouldn't be upset about this? But when Wu Wei left, she took a closer look. This chest of drawers looked inconspicuous, but the repaired side was more attractive. Especially the broken leg that was repaired. Although it was only a few centimeters long, the mortise and tenon structure within these few centimeters was even more complicated than the large furniture we see every day. So when she saw Wu Wei coming back, Xiao Yuyan couldn't wait to say, "You are going to continue repairing in the afternoon, right? Then can I come and watch you repair it?" Wu Wei patted the dust on his body and said, "Of course, as long as you don't mind the noise and dust here." Xiao Yuyan happily shook her head, "No." Then, without any disdain for the dirt that Wu Wei had just been busy with for half a day, she took his arm and returned to the Qiao family compound. As soon as she entered the courtyard, she saw the master's wife Chen Yuejuan busy inside and outside. Wu Wei said politely, "Master's wife, I'm here to eat again." Chen Yuejuan stopped and said, "What are you talking about, kid? I'm happy if you come here every day to eat." While talking, Wu Wei looked around and said, "Is the third brother not here?" Chen Yuejuan waved her hand and said, "He went out early in the morning, saying that he wanted to run more orders and try to make some money for the new year." Then the voice of Master Qiao Wei came from the main hall, "Come in and eat, and drink with me." Without waiting for Wu Wei to respond, Xiao Yuyan interrupted and said, "He has been busy all morning and hasn't washed yet." Then she took out her wash basin and towel, filled a basin of warm water and brought it to Wu Wei for washing. During this period, Wu Wei said, "I'll do it myself" several times, but Xiao Yuyan didn't stop him. "Okay, I'll watch you wash." When Wu Wei bent down to wash his face, Xiao Yuyan looked at his hair and said, "I'll help you wash your hair after dinner." This is treating Wu Wei as her own man, and she wants to transform him from head to toe. Wu Wei thought about it and realized that he hadn't washed his hair for a few days, and it was time to wash it. But considering that he had to be busy in the afternoon, he said, "It's better to wash it in the evening. If you wash it at noon, it will be dirty again when you are busy in the afternoon." Xiao Yuyan immediately misunderstood, "Okay, I'll wash it for you after you are busy in the afternoon." Washed his hands and wiped his face. Wu Wei walked into the main room refreshed, and Master Qiao Wu had been waiting for a long time with a bottle of Maotai in his hand. He reached out to take the Maotai and said, "Master, I have to be busy in the afternoon and can't accompany you. I'll pour you a glass of wine." Master Qiao Wu agreed. but he was interrupted by his daughter. "Dad, you drank at noon, don't drink at night, it's easy to overdrink." At this point, Master Chiao Wu lost interest. He immediately put away the bottle and said, "Wait for you to come over and drink with me in the evening." "Well, now I have to wash my hair and drink with him in the evening." Chen Yuejuan brought the last dish over and sat down, saying, "Xiao Wu, I heard you just bought a new big color TV. Wu Wei responded, "I bought it for a bet with Zishun. With Yuyan's help this time, she has made great progress." After saying this, he added, "It's not big, master's wife, only 20 inches. "Isn't it big?" Chen Yuejuan asked. "Moli's family only has a 14-inch one, and it's black and white. If you really move this 20-inch color TV back to the village, it will definitely be one of the best." Xiao Yuyan also echoed, "Dad, Mom, you don't know. The people on the color TV look like real people. The martial arts moves are really exciting to watch." Wu Wei smiled and said, "Bring it to master's wife someday to kill time, so as not to affect Zishun's studies, killing two birds with one stone." Xiao Yuyan was satisfied when she heard that he was so willing to give it away, and her beautiful eyes were smart. Chen Yuejuan waved her hands and said, "Don't bother. I'm not used to looking at that thing for a long time. My eyes are tired." Half a day of repair in the afternoon. Xiao Yuyan came to accompany him as promised. The young carpenters in the workshop whistled wildly. After all, she was the most educated and beautiful girl in Daowen village, a beauty in the surrounding area. Xiao Yuyan was too lazy to pay attention to them, and her eyes were all focused on Wu Wei. Sure enough, a serious man is the most attractive. Winter nights always come earlier. As soon as the sun sets, it is not clear in the village courtyard, and Wu Wei is forced to stop. At this rate, it will take at least another day. Even so, when fourth Master Chiao came over and took a look, he was still surprised. "You have repaired more than half of it in just one day." Wu Wei said modestly, "It's indeed a bit slow." For Master Chiao was surprised and said, "I mean, your speed is fast enough. After all, repairing old furniture is not like making a new set of furniture. You have to pay attention to all aspects. Anyway, if I were to do it, I would not be able to catch up with your speed." After that, he helped and moved the chest of drawers into the workshop with Wu Wei. Xiao Yuyan followed behind and picked up all the tools. Then he took Wu Wei home to wash his hair. Looking at Wu Wei's helpless look, fourth Master Chiao smiled with relief. "It's time for someone to clean you up. Otherwise, how can you look like a big boss?" Back to the master's house. Xiao Yuyan pointed to the chair next to the wash basin rack and said, "Just sit there and don't move. I'll be there in a minute." Wu Wei went over and saw Xiao Yuyan carrying a basin of steaming hot water and placing it on the wash basin rack. It looked quite hot. Wu Wei said in disbelief, "You are not going to burn my bald skin, are you?" Instead, Xiao Yuyan put her hand into the basin and stirred it, saying, "It's not hot at all, look." Wu Wei laughed. Could it be that men and women have different perceptions of hot water? Forget it, Wu Wei was ready to bite the bullet and let Xiao Yuyan fiddle with it. Fortunately, Chen Yuejuan said, "Add some cold water. He is a young man with strong yang energy. Don't always use your hands to test the temperature." Xiao Yuyan then obediently added cold water. Getting rid of the trouble of being burned, Wu Wei still enjoyed the rest of the hair washing process. This was a treatment he had never had in his previous life with Qin Ziru for more than 30 years. It was just that after washing, because he used Xiao Yuyan's shampoo, he always exuded a smell of shampoo. Wu Wei was ready to go over and give his master a cigarette. But he was pulled over by Xiao Yuyan and dried with a hair dryer. Otherwise, with the temperature at night, my hair would stand up straight after a while. At dinner, the father and son drank half a caddy of wine together. Just after they finished drinking, Xiao Kuliang hurried back. Dusty and exhausted, he didn't even bother to wash up, and directly slapped a list in front of Wu Wei and said, "How is it?" Wu Wei took a quick look and said, "Not bad, this list of furniture is worth 10,000 yuan. You got 200 yuan. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 166. Chiao Kuliang wanted to recognize it. Wu Wei gave him enough recognition. Compared to verbal encouragement and praise, nothing can express recognition better than cash rewards. So after Wu Wei finished speaking, he took 20 photos of the group on the spot. Even though this almost emptied Wu Wei's cash. This scene not only stunned Chiao Kuliang on the spot. Even the master and his wife were stunned. Is it so easy to make money? Or is this Xiao Wu deliberately subsidizing his third son? The old couple exchanged glances, preferring the latter one. But because he saw Sanner being inspired, he didn't make trouble on the spot to dampen Sanner's enthusiasm. However, after Wu Wei gave him the cash, he continued to encourage, "If you can get so many furniture orders every day, our furniture factory can be officially opened." Chiao Kuliang looked at the group excitedly and said, "I don't think this is difficult. Father, Mom, and Yuyan, you haven't seen how those people in the city have never seen the world. When I saw the furniture designed by my brother-in-law, my eyes almost popped out. I didn't need to say anything, they rushed to make a decision with me. If you run around a lot in the past few days before the year, it shouldn't be difficult to get orders worth 100,000 or 200,000. Hearing this, Fifth Master Chiao recognized it. This should be true. The furniture designed by my cheap apprentice was praised even by the fourth brother, who was so ambitious. It is normal to be popular in the city. Of course, the responsibility for running orders fell on his third son, and it was Wu Wei who took care of him. Otherwise, who else can't do it, and it has to be left to him. So after dinner, while Wu Wei was settling the money from selling the fish, Mr. Chiao took an extra 1,000 yuan, put it together and gave it to Wu Wei. In front of his master and his wife, Wu Wei didn't order anything. But the thickness of these 100 sheets of great unity is there. Anyone who is not blind can see it. "Master, is this a lot of money?" When Master Chiao saw that his son was not there, he lowered his voice and said, "Senior Sister Chiao and I will accept your kindness in taking care of the third child. But this money cannot be paid out of your own pocket." Wu Wei suddenly laughed. He spread out the list Chiao Kuliang handed him and said, Master, look at it. On it are 3 European Dream Simmons cards, each with their address and contact information. This is 4,500. In addition, 2 sets of fashionable modular cabinets and 2 sets of modular sofas are clearly written. When I get back, I have to give it to Fourth Master and ask him to arrange manpower for processing. Chen Yuejuan looked at the list. One by one, they are indeed listed clearly and matter-of-factly. But Fifth Master Chiao said without even looking at it, "If you leave such a cheap job to him, if I don't express my gratitude, I will make Fourth Master laugh at you later." Wu Wei smiled and said, "Master, when you promote good people, you should never avoid relatives. I have noticed the marketing talent in my third brother since I was in Shanghai. This job is just right for him. To be honest, it should be him and this job that help each other." After saying that, Wu Wei said to Chen Yuejuan, "Master's wife, you believe me. I am really willing to pay for this money because of my third brother's ability." At this point, it happened that Fourth Master Chiao came over with his hands behind his back. Wu Wei immediately handed over the order and said, "Fourth Master, this is the order that third brother just ran down today. I'm afraid you have to put some thought into arranging manpower." Fourth Master Chiao took it and looked at it through the light in the main room, There are quite a few. Are they all from Quiliang? Wu Wei nodded. Fourth Master Chiao praised, Quiliang has made great achievements. Hearing what the fourth brother said, the master and the old man accepted the fact that their third brother had a promising future. Of course, compared to Wu Wei's achievements, this achievement is nothing. But compared with what the third child had done before, the old couple was simply too happy. After being pleased, Wu Wei continued, third brother just said that it was not difficult to win the order of 100,000 or 200,000 a year ago. Fourth Master Chiao blurted out, isn't this bragging? Wu Wei did not refute, but just suggested, if he really succeeds, he will be the marketing manager of this furniture factory. Fourth Master Chiao said in an obedient manner, you are the boss, you have the final say. At this time, Chiao Quiliang heard the sound and said, brother-in-law, no, boss, are you serious about this? Wu Wei nodded, a gentleman's words. Chiao Quiliang immediately said, it's hard to chase a horse. That night, the news reached the old party secretary's home. Lu Hong lay on the bed and couldn't help but lament, tell me, such a good son-in-law made your daughter run away. As an old party secretary, Secretary Chiao said, they are not suitable for each other. If you insist on being together, not only will my daughter be uncomfortable, but Xiao Wu may not be willing to do it. In the end, even if I become your golden turtle son-in-law, sooner or later you have to run. Lu Hong didn't listen at all and said, I also heard that Xiao Wu Gang bought a large color TV, 20 inches, and it was imported. The people on the TV can see it as if it were real. Secretary Chiao stopped talking nonsense and allowed his mother-in-law to talk. Until Lu Hong changed the subject and said, but a talent like Xiao Wu is destined to flourish. I'm afraid that Yuyan won't be able to hold on in the future, and sooner or later she will take advantage of others. Secretary Chiao said, Xiao Wu is not that kind of person. It is inevitable that Yuyan will suffer some grievances if she follows him, but in other aspects, there is not much of a problem. Lu Hong sighed, forget it, if you have the time, you should worry about our daughter. She is not young anymore. Don't wait until Yuyan gets married. Our Molly still has no partner. Then she will have to be Yuyan's bridesmaid. Friday afternoon. After 2 days of restoration, the Huanghuali chest of drawers finally looks brand new. Wu Wei repaired the broken legs and made the most protective renovation of the entire chest of drawers. The traces of time on the surface of the chest of drawers were smoothed and painted, but the original sense of history and vicissitudes were not lost. Qiao Yuyan accompanied her throughout the whole process and was fascinated by it. In her limited cognition, being able to do carpentry work to this extent is also considered to be a skill, right? But after a busy day, the hair needs to be washed and the beard needs to be shaved. Otherwise, I can't show it to anyone when I take it to Jiajia's wedding on Sunday. Wu Wei is straightforward. On Saturday, he went straight to get his hair cut and facial done, and took a bath in the courtyard of Beihai Road. Although bathing at home has many inconveniences, it is at least more hygienic than taking a bath in a bathhouse. And the 3-burner coal stove was burning vigorously. Not only was there enough hot water, but it was not cold at all. After taking a bath, he changed into the clothes that Qiao Yuyan matched for him. Qiao Yuyan kept getting close to him, and even Zishun was next to him, she couldn't stop him. In the end, Zishun was so embarrassed that she went back to the house. Wu Wei then gently patted the millstone and said, be reserved, don't scare the little sister. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 167. After a while, Zishun came out holding the book and said, I went to Xinhua bookstore to read. This light bulb can no longer be used even if it is hidden in the house. The cart left the yard and even closed the gate. After a while, De Wang, who had been keeping warm in the room, silently opened the glass door, hid under the door, and buried his face. I really have no eyes to see and no ears to hear. After all, when it was roaming Daowen village some time ago, it also knew how to avoid people when doing things. Nowadays, people don't avoid dogs anymore. The fire in the 3-burner briquette stove burned very brightly and lasted for several hours before it weakened. By the time Wu Wei got up to change the briquettes, it was time to make dinner. After dinner, Wu Wei sent the fed Xiaoyuan to Ma Jiajia's natal home in Shitang Township in advance. At 4 or 5 in the morning, the bride has to get up early to put on makeup. As a bridesmaid, instead of getting up early and rushing over at that time, it would be better to spend the night with the bride. So early on Sunday morning, Wu Wei was also in the Bei'ai Road courtyard, sleeping until he woke up naturally. Then she put on Xiaoyuan's matching clothes, put on her leather shoes, drank a bowl of porridge, rode on the big bar, and headed straight to Ma Jiajia's parents' house. When we arrived at Ma Jiajia's parents' house, the ceremony room had already been set up. Wu Wei did not give the gift first, but went to the bride's room first. The bride's room in the morning was crowded with people. Not only was there a procession to see off the bride, but there was also an endless stream of relatives visiting the bride's children and sending boxes of money. Even so, as soon as Wu Wei arrived, some people still mistook him for the groom. Xiaoyuan, who was so frightened that she put on light makeup, quickly held her hand, as if she was afraid that this matter was serious. The red and green quilts on the bed had been pressed out of shape. Wu Wei was dragged over by Xiaoyuan, and there was no place to stay. He only said one thing to Ma Jiajia: "The bride is very beautiful today, congratulations to teacher Ma." He became an invisible man. It seems that with today's arrangement, the bride Ma Jiajia should finish eating in the front row at home before leaving. I don't know how long it took, but the sun was already rising outside. The noise in the bride's room gradually faded away. As a result, Wu Wei was about to ask Xiaoyuan where to salute, when he heard Ma Jiajia say, "Boss Wu, our Yuyan is a delicate girl, you can't be like a rude man, not knowing how to show mercy to the beauty, and you can make love with just one step hours." Wu Wei was only surprised. Did girls really talk about this to each other? Xiaoyuan was so embarrassed that she couldn't even lift her head. Ma Jiajia then explained the whole story. "Don't look at her. She was also forced out by me and came to be my bridesmaid. As a result, she slept better than me early in the morning and couldn't even wake up." Wu Wei couldn't tolerate her and said, "Teacher Ma, is section chief Hao not very good at that?" "You." Xiaoyuan quickly started the show and said, "It's a happy day. You can't be angry or cry today. Have you forgotten again?" Immediately, Wu Wei asked Xiaoyuan and left the West Wing while going to present the gift. As a result, as soon as he finished the ceremony in Xiaoyuan's name in the ceremony room, Wu Wei turned around and was recognized. "Are you Boss Wu from Daowen village?" Wu Wei turned around. Although he was unfamiliar with the person, he still nodded and said, "I am. May I ask who you are?" The visitor immediately took out the smoke and said enthusiastically, "I am Ma Jiajia's second uncle Tao Zuzhu. I am also a carpenter. I will do some work with the fourth master. You may not know it, Boss Wu." Wu Wei understood. He has never asked how many carpenters the fourth master has hired. "So I really don't know." He took the Dakianman handed over by the other party and said, "Your Shitang Township is quite far away from our Shanwang Township. Isn't it easy to work back and forth every day?" Tao Zuzhu said with enthusiasm, "As long as there is work, far away is not a problem at all. But right now I am mainly busy in the village, responsible for cutting and rough processing of materials. When it is almost done, I will send it to the Daowen village headquarters. I heard from 4th Master Chiao that there will be more orders after the new year, and it is possible that everyone will be gathered together to find a centralized venue." Wu Wei nodded. Tao Zuzhu said again, "Thanks to the popularity of the furniture you designed, Boss Wu, we have something to eat." Wu Wei gave way and said, "Where is it?" Despite this, Tao Zuzi still respected Wu Wei. So much so that when the front row meal started, as the bride's second uncle, he should have been seated. In the end, he just left the seat to Wu Wei and sat beside him. Wu Wei couldn't refuse, so he had no choice but to sit down. Fortunately, with Tao Zuzi, Wu Wei finally felt a little warm after eating this meal. It was just after 11 when the front row seats ended. The sound of crackling firecrackers was immediately heard from the east end of Zhuangzi. Listening to the noise, the team to pick up the bride has arrived. I was in such a hurry that I didn't catch up with the people in the front row. Fortunately, the receptionist immediately vacated the main table in the main room, leaving it for the wedding reception team to sit first. Of course, before taking your seat, they must first pass through several hurdles before entering the house. As a result, more than 10 minutes later, the wedding team surrounded Hao Yang and rushed into the bride's room in the west wing. With this speed, one can tell that there is a capable person in the team. But the team that picked up the bride had food to eat, but the bride and bridesmaids didn't have a bite. Wu Wei felt sorry for Qiao Yuyan, so he went to the chef who was preparing the banquet and brought over a large four-dimensional meatball. Then he covered Qiao Yuyan until she finished eating to her satisfaction. Ma Jiajia, who was standing next to him, was so anxious that she swallowed her saliva and said, "I haven't eaten yet, but you've eaten first." This was said to Qiao Yuyan. Since she was confronted by Wu Wei, she didn't dare to confront Wu Wei easily. Qiao Yuyan was looking around, ready to think of a solution. Wu Wei immediately said, "Ask section chief how to get it for you. He will sit at the main table outside. It's so convenient." Hearing this, Ma Jiajia sighed, "Forget it, I won't eat." When the wedding procession was halfway through the meal, the auspicious time had arrived. Ma Jiajia put on her wedding shoes and was carried out by her brother. She was put in a jeep. Although the jeep was a bit shabby and old, in this day and age, a wedding car with 4 wheels was already very impressive. Sure enough, the Hao family still had some influence. Qiao Yuyan also got in the car with the bride, and Wu Wei could only ride a 28-bar bicycle and follow the wedding car team from a distance. Soon, the flatbed truck that the bride's family brought was left far behind. But Wu Wei followed all the way back to the Hao family in the west of the city. The place where the Hao family lived was the former government compound in the county. A large courtyard composed of old houses and old houses. In the past, all the units in the county allocated housing here, which was extremely lively. It was not until the past 2 years that many people moved into the new buildings allocated by the units. As a result, the popularity here has obviously declined. But the compound also has its advantages. It is convenient to arrange any big or small things. Otherwise, the Hao family would have no choice but to choose to organize a buffet at home. Wu Wei had just locked the car when he heard someone calling him from behind, "Xiao Wu. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 168. Wu Wei turned around and said, "Hey, Mr. Zhong." Overjoyed, he couldn't help but clicked his tongue and said, "The Hao family has even invited you, the rumors are indeed true." Mr. Zhong pointed at him with a smile, "You kid, what about me?" Then, without waiting for Wu Wei to deny it, he rubbed his index and middle fingers and said, "Have a cigarette." Wu Wei quickly took out the huazi and handed it over. He turned on the lighter and said, "How dare I? But there are rumors outside that Section Chief Hao is the youngest section chief." After lighting up the cigarette, Mr. Zhong took a nice puff and said, "Xiao Hao is indeed young and promising." Then he asked, "Do you also have friendship with him?" Wu Wei himself lit up the smoke and said, "I am here to accompany my partner, who is serving as his wife's bridesmaid." Mr. Zhong said in an ageless tone, "Then I'll take a closer look later. You can sit with me later and point it out to me." Wu Wei didn't believe this. After all, you are a senior coder at the division level. When you sit down later, how can you find a place to sit around? As soon as I thought about it, I didn't even wait to enter the room and sit down. Mr. Zhong was recognized by people passing by, and they all came forward to greet him warmly. Mr. Zhong. When the Hao family father and son came out to greet him personally, they stood aside the crowd and held Mr. Zhong's hand. Wu Wei was directly pushed to the outermost edge. Mr. Zhong, when you come to this humble abode, the flowers will shine brightly. Wu Wei couldn't help but curl his lips when he heard these words. Although this old Hao is a deputy director, his level is average. However, Mr. Zhong's response was much more down to earth. Back then, when we first worked together, we were about the same age as them, right? Now in the blink of an eye, they have grown from bare butt brats to independent backbones. This is the relationship between co-authors Zhong Lao and Lao Hao. Everyone onlookers also had their hands on their sleeves and laughed with them, as if they were listening to the instructions. After the greetings were completed, old Hao asked Mr. Zhong to walk towards the main table in his house. Only then did Mr. Zhong remember it and shouted around, "Xiao Wu, where are the people from Xiao Wu?" Wu Wei was about to go find Xiao Yuyan. When he heard the sound, he quickly responded, "Hey, Mr. Zhong, it's over here, it's over here." The crowd immediately made way for him. At this time, everyone noticed this tall and handsome young man. When he came closer, old Hao asked in a serious tone, "Mr. Zhong, who is this?" Mr. Zhong waved his hand and said, "Oh, he is a year-end friend of mine. We will sit together later and I will talk to him if I have something to do." This was a direct instruction, so Lao Hao naturally couldn't say no. On the other hand, Chief Hao Yang and Chief Hao looked at Wu Wei with complicated expressions. I remember when he went to great lengths to pursue Xiao Yuyan, he couldn't even catch her. But this kid took it down in 3 strokes and 5 divided by 2. Now, at his own wedding, he stole the show and became a young man on par with Mr. Zhong. In this way, it won't take a few days. I am afraid that the entire Bailun County knows that Mr. Zhong has a friend like him who has never forgotten his years. Even so, Wu Wei was not so arrogant that he really wanted to be on an equal footing with Mr. Zhong. Instead, he sat on the side seat next to Zhong Lao's left-hand side. "Anyway, just keep talking and chatting without delay." Wu Wei sat down and looked around. Obviously the ceremony of the bride's arrival has been completed, and now Xiao Yuyan should accompany the bride Ma Jiajia in the new house. At this moment, Xiao Yuyan appeared at the door of the west wing and looked towards the main seat. Wu Wei immediately pulled at Mr. Zhong proudly and said, "Here, that is my partner Xiao Yuyan." As he said that, he waved to Xiao Yuyan. Mr. Zhong took a quick look and said, "Young man has good taste. Where does she work?" When Wu Wei saw Xiao Yuyan retreating into the room, he patiently talked to Mr. Zhong and said, "The normal student who just graduated this year is now a teacher in the county." Mr. Zhong understood and said, "Oh, I am classmates with the bride." Wu Wei nodded and then changed the topic, "Actually, Mr. Zhong, I am planning to meet you in 2 days." "Oh? Is there anything else you can ask me for?" "That's not true," Wu Wei continued, "I just came across a chest of drawers 2 days ago. I guess it is rosewood from the Qing dynasty. I spent 2 days repairing it and am preparing to give it to you for appreciation." "Thank you for remembering me," Mr. Zhong immediately smiled and said, "When we finish sitting down at the table, you can take me to have a look." Wu Wei suddenly thought, "I'm afraid not, the chest of drawers is still in the countryside. It was just restored the day before yesterday. I didn't expect to meet you today, so I left it in the village. Wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow you come to my Bai Road courtyard to see me." Mr. Zhong nodded, "That's fine, I'll go back and get ready." "How much do you estimate the chest of drawers is worth?" Wu Wei shook his head, "Mr. Zhong, I give this to you, No money is required. That won't work, Mr. Zhong said matter-of-factly. How can I win someone's favor for nothing? In front of so many people, Wu Wei didn't elaborate, he just declined and said, let's wait until you see the real thing tomorrow. Zhong Laoyi thought, this is fine. But the excitement on his old face could no longer be concealed. In the eyes of outsiders, they can't help but be curious. How did this young man come to be able to make the famous Mr. Zhong look so happy? What a skill! Zhong Lao was excited and rubbed his hands at Wu Wei. Wu Wei immediately handed over a root of huazi and got angry again. This scene fell into the eyes of everyone. So when the 2 packs of wedding cigarettes were placed on the main table, no one dared to take them randomly. It was not until Wu Wei took a pack that the others opened the other pack. Wu Wei took it, but did not put it in his pocket. Instead, he placed it between him and Mr. Zhong, and pressed the lighter on it. At the same time, Qiao Yuyan looked at Wu Wei sitting next to Mr. Zhong, surrounded by people, and was secretly shocked. Ma Jiajia said with a look of jealousy, don't look at my section chief how, he is so glorious outside, but he doesn't have such treatment in front of Mr. Zhong. On weekdays, he doesn't even have the opportunity to say a word in front of Mr. Zhong. Yuyan, your man is really not simple. Qiao Yuyan was secretly happy in her heart, but she said hypocritically, maybe he just happened to know him. Ma Jiajia pouted, just happened to know him, and he knew the old secretary of our county? Why can't I also happen to know one? Then Ma Jiajia changed the subject and said, by the way, you don't know who he knows, then do you know how much money he has? Qiao Yuyan shook her head, it's true that he made some money, but his expenses are also high. In addition to the construction team project with my father, there is also a brick kiln factory in our village that needs to be rebuilt. And if fourth uncle and his friends make furniture, I heard that they also need to build a factory. Ma Jiajia murmured, so, after the new year, he will be the boss of 3 factories. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 169. Qiao Yuyan sat down next to Ma Jiajia and sighed, the boss of 3 factories, I'm just worried that he will be exhausted. Unexpectedly, Ma Jiajia gritted her teeth and said bitterly, it's okay to tire him out. He won't have to torment you for hours when he comes back, and he doesn't know how to show mercy. However, before Ma Jiajia finished speaking, she was interrupted by Qiao Yuyan, it's not that tiring. It's actually quite comfortable. Ma Jiajia shook her head when she heard this, it's crazy, crazy. Is this the number 1 lady in our normal college? She can even say such shameless words. Soon, another relative of the Hao family came to the new house. The 2 decisively ended the topic and started socializing. The seating outside began soon. Although Wu Weiren was sitting on the side seat, his status was firmly higher than that of the old section chief who was also accompanying Mr. Zhong. After everyone paid their respects to Mr. Zhong, they turned to respect him. In the end, Wu Wei had no choice but to return the favor again. After such a round, Wu Wei became familiar with everyone at the main table. During the conversation, Wu Wei's factory building project at the meat factory and the welfare housing project at the cement factory were even involved. As a result, the waiting time for the main table was unknowingly lengthened. Finally, Mr. Zhong spoke up and decisively ended the meeting. Make room for the guests waiting to sit on the flowing seats in the back. After finishing the meal, Wu Wei sent Mr. Zhong away first. Then he turned around and came back, entered the new house, greeted Qiao Yuyan, and said that he would go back to the village first and come to pick her up in the evening. Qiao Yuyan nodded with bright eyes, if you have something to do, go and do it. It doesn't matter if you're too late. Anyway, Now that she is in the county town, Jiao Yuyan is familiar with the roads, so she is not afraid. But Wu Wei insisted, I will definitely come. After all, there was going to be a wedding party at night, and he had to protect his wife from being taken advantage of. After some explanations, Wu Wei rode back to the Daowen village headquarters. There are obviously more carpenters in the village. Wu Wei smoked a cigarette with fourth master Chiao and asked about Tao Zizou. Sure enough, he really was such a famous person. After talking about Tao Zizou, fourth master Chiao got to the point, I'm thinking about the furniture factory you mentioned. Let's continue to borrow the place in the village. When the orders stabilize and become large scale, we will consider choosing a location to build the factory again. What do you think? Wu Wei looked around and said, okay. Even this place, I'm afraid, we can't use it in vain. You can discuss it with the old party secretary and see how much it is appropriate to pay, and then treat it as rented by us. Fourth Master Chiao waved his hand and said, what kind of rent will you pay? Your brick kiln factory will provide employment for so many people next year. He didn't say thank you or anything. You settled the accounts with him. Wu Wei laughed and said, anyway, fourth master, you'd better mention it to the old party secretary. Fourth master Chiao said helplessly, you kid, you are sincere. Then he asked, didn't you accompany Yuyan to have a wedding banquet today? Yuyan didn't come back, why did you come back first? Wu Wei then mentioned, it happened that I met Mr. Zhong today and told him about the chest of drawers. I made an appointment to show it to him in the Beihai Road courtyard tomorrow morning. I came back first and took the chest of drawers with me. Fourth Master Chiao immediately said, this is a big deal. I'll find a flatbed truck to deliver it to you. With that said, Fourth Master Chiao went to call someone. The person calling was none other than Ma Haidao's father, Ma Jinbao. After the chest of drawers was loaded onto the flatbed truck and the corners were wrapped with felt cloth, Ma Jinbao pulled it straight to the county town. On Wu Wei's side, while it was still early, he went to his master's house. After sitting for a while, he went straight to the county seat. In this way, Ma Jinbao was still chased at the Baiguan Bridge. He immediately drove the car and drove Ma Jinbao all the way to the Beihai Road courtyard. Zishun is reading under the eaves of the corridor. Seeing this, he came over to call someone, but Ma Jinbao looked embarrassed and couldn't let go. Then the two of them worked together to unload the chest of drawers and stand it under the eaves of the corridor. Wu Wei paid to pay Ma Jinbao. As a result, Ma Jinbao didn't even say no, and if he wanted to marry, he would go back and marry fourth Master Chiao. In the end, Wu Wei could only push Beata through the front door. After seeing off Ma Jinbao, Wu Wei threw the wedding candy on his body to Zishun, then rode on the 28th pole and went straight to the old government compound. Arriving at Hao's house, the atmosphere here is thick. Ma Jiajia, who had been hungry all day, finally sat at the main table and ate the food. Although we still have to come and go for toasts and drinks, we can finally have something warm to eat. This meal of noodles has just been finished. Old Hao was pushed out like a devil and made a fool of himself everywhere. When Wu Wei saw this, he quickly protected Xiao Yuyan behind him. Sure enough, the next moment, everyone couldn't catch up with Old Hao, turned around, and blocked Hao Yang and Ma Jiajia into the new house. Then there was a commotion inside. Fortunately, Wu Wei stopped Xiao Yuyan from following her. Feeling Wu Wei's broad arms protecting her, Xiao Yuyan felt particularly at ease after a tiring day. Seeing the fatigue on Xiao Yuyan's face, Wu Wei couldn't help but feel distressed and said, how about we leave quietly? Come to my small courtyard to rest for a while, and I will send you back. Xiao Yuyan hesitated and said, then should I tell Jiajia? Hearing the commotion coming from the new house, Wu Wei shook his head, it's better not to talk about it. After saying that, the two of them quietly walked out in understanding. taking advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on the wedding night. As a result, just after leaving the gate of the Hao family, someone shouted behind him, "Where is the bridesmaid? Where is the bridesmaid?" Wu Wei decisively pulled Qiao Yuyan and ran. Until they stepped out of the government compound, Qiao Yuyan was still in shock and said, "I didn't expect that being a bridesmaid is so terrible." Wu Wei said seriously, "That's not right. When we get married, we won't let them make trouble in the bridal chamber." Hearing this, Qiao Yuyan couldn't help but hug Wu Wei tightly. Back to the small courtyard of Bei'ai Road, Qiao Yuyan fell asleep. This sleep was not until the smell of food wafted from the yard, and she woke up slowly. Stretching her waist, showing her beautiful figure, she saw Zishun popping her head out and said, "Teacher Qiao, are you awake? Second brother called you to get up and eat." After dinner, the moonlight was just right. Wu Wei stepped on the 28-inch bicycle, carrying Qiao Yuyan, and went to Daowen village leisurely. Qiao Yuyan felt uncomfortable sitting there. She specifically asked to sit on the front bumper. In this way, she could curl up in his arms, and when she turned around, she could secretly kiss him, which made her feel much more comfortable. They just returned to the Qiao family courtyard, and they were still in this position without getting out of the car. Qiao Kuliang rushed over to ask for credit. "Boss, guess how many orders I got today?" Wu Wei looked and saw that behind Qiao Kuliang, his master, the fourth master, and the old branch secretary came out to greet him. For such a big occasion, he must not be low-key. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 170. Wu Wei laughed and let Qiao Yuyan in his arms get out of the driveway. "Since the old party secretary and fourth master are both here, I guess 30,000. Qiao Kuliang was stunned when he heard the fourth master behind him loudly say, "I just said he can guess it." Everyone laughed. Qiao Kuliang said without understanding, "Even if the third uncle and the fourth uncle are both here, they are still two people. Why is it only 30,000? Wu Wei said as he was blowing away the smoke, "Master and the old man are here to meet him." Qiao Yuyan also got the chance, and taunted, "That's right, why have you forgotten Dad? Are you still Dad's biological son?" Qiao Kuliang scratched his head, "It makes sense." Wu Wei finally handed him a cigarette and said, "Third brother, good job. With a marketing talent like you, the establishment of the furniture factory is almost certain." Fourth Master Qiao also took the opportunity to say, "By the way, Xiao Wu, I made an agreement with third brother that the village will rent it to us for free for 1 year. After 1 year, it will depend on the situation." Secretary Qiao nodded. Wu Wei immediately said, "Thank you very much for the village's support of our furniture factory. Otherwise, it's nice to enjoy the shade under the big tree." Looking back, Wu Wei did not forget to give Qiao Kuliang an explanation. "Well, third brother, I don't have any money with me today. These orders will continue to run, and I will settle the settlement for you once before the year." Hearing this, fifth master Qiao said, "If you ask me, there is no need to settle the payment before the year. You have to pay for it personally from your own pocket. Why don't you just wait until these orders are delivered and settle them together? Isn't it over?" Before Qiao Kuliang could speak, Wu Wei said, "In this case, the third brother is determined to be easy to explain, but the people he brings are difficult to explain." Qiao Kuliang was shocked when he heard this. "You even know about me taking people to run orders together?" "It's not hard to guess," third brother Wu Wei said with a smile, "it's just a matter of leading people, but third brother, you must keep your eyes peeled when you recognize people, so as not to let them play tricks on our customers and us. At the end of the day, they walk away and we have to wipe their butts, leaving the sign covered in dust." Qiao Kuliang also got it straight to the point. "Are you worried that my brothers will ask customers for deposits in private but not hand them over?" Wu Wei said nothing. Qiao Kuliang wanted to slap his chest and swear, but when the words came to his lips, he couldn't. He just said, "Tomorrow I will take this list and ask them one by one." Wu Wei also praised, "Be prepared, third brother. Any violation of rules must be nipped in the bud." Wu Wei spoke to everyone, and when he saw that it was time for Xiaochun to get off work, he stood up and left. After leaving, the third elder was reluctant to leave. Fourth Master Qiao, who has a naughty heart, is even more outspoken. "If you ask me, Xiao Wu, it's almost the Chinese New Year, you can move back here quickly. No matter how bad your hometown is, it's your nest. No matter how good the county is, it's someone else's house." Qiao Yuyan's face was filled with anticipation. She also hopes to see Wu Wei every day, especially after the holiday. So he echoed, "If you think it's cold at home, bring back the heating stove." Wu Wei took a look and found that although the others didn't say anything, they generally meant this. "Okay, I'll go back and prepare and move back." Then she said to Qiao Yuyan, "Tomorrow I will send you to Ma Jiajia's parents' house and ride your car back." After leaving the Qiao family compound, Wu Wei passed by the village headquarters, met up with his third sister Xiaochun and Xiang Hui who were going out, and went straight to the county. After leaving Daowen village on the village road, he asked, "Third sister, do you think we should move back here during the Chinese New Year?" Xiang Hui immediately said, "It would be great to move back. Xiaochun won't have to run back and forth from dawn to dusk." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaochun shouted, "Are you afraid of getting up early and running back and forth at dusk?" "No," Xiang Hui quickly denied it. Seeing that Xiaochun didn't believe it, he quickly said to Wu Wei, "That's not true, second brother. I'm mainly worried that Xiaochun will be affected." Wu Wei nodded, suppressed Xiang Hui, and then said to Xiaochun, "Don't yell at him. Tell the truth." Xiaochun then said, "It is indeed easier for me to come back, but there is air leakage everywhere in the house, so it is indeed not warmer than in the city." "That's enough," Wu Wei said happily, "there's air leaking everywhere, so I'm fine. I can simply clean it up and survive the New Year period. When spring starts and the freeze thaws, we'll tear it down and rebuild it. It's all up to you, second brother." At the intersection of Jingui Township, before Xiang Hui turned down, he kept saying, "Xiaochun, I really am not, really not." Xiaochun said angrily, "Go back quickly." Wu Wei also raised his hand and said, "Don't worry, third sister is not angry with you." Xiang Hui then got into the car and left. When the brother and sister returned to the Bei Road courtyard, Wu Wei asked Zishun the same question. Zishun said as expected, "If we want to talk about the excitement during the New Year, it must be the excitement in the village. I don't even know a few people here. But it's very convenient to go to Xinhua bookstore to read books and go shopping." Upon hearing this, Xiaochun immediately had an inclination, "Little girl, where are you going to go shopping? Second brother, let's move back quickly." Wu Wei slapped his thigh, "Okay, this matter is settled." Early the next morning, it was the 20th day of the 12th lunar month. There began to be sporadic sounds of firecrackers in the city. Children on vacation are like wild horses that have escaped the rains, running around and having fun. From time to time I ran past the entrance of the Bei Road courtyard. When Wu Wei came back from seeing Qiao Yuyan off, he saw a little kid lighting firecrackers and throwing them under his car. If this blows out the car's tires, it will inevitably lead to a lot of trouble. Wu Wei glared at the naughty child and returned to his courtyard. I saw Zishun holding a book under the eaves of the corridor and saying with disgust, "These children are so annoying. They haven't stopped since morning." Wu Wei comforted him and said, "Just bear with me for 2 more days, and let me clean up the fence yard, and then we will move back. By the way, no one came this morning, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, Mr. Zhong's voice came from behind, "Are you anxious?" I told you to come early, but you must let me come early. Mr. Zhong got off the jeep, followed by his daughter Zhong Ying. Wu Wei hurriedly stepped forward to greet her, subconsciously taking out his cigarette to disperse, but when he caught Ms. Zhong's gaze, he took it back with a smile. But old man Zhong was an old man, always holding his hands behind his back, and had no intention of taking it. By bypassing Wu Wei, he went straight to the chest of drawers under the eaves of the corridor. Ms. Zhong has always been dismissive of the old furniture that her father loved. As a result, this chest of drawers seemed a bit interesting to her. At least it's convenient for sorting some clothes. Compared to Ms. Zhong, who was just watching the fun, Mr. Zhong touched the entire cabinet and said, "Xiao Wu, your repair skills are getting better and better. I've been looking at it for a long time, but I still can't see where it was repaired." Wu Wei couldn't help but smile. "Mr. Zhong, this chest of drawers is in very good condition. It's just a little damaged on the table legs," he said, and pointed it out to Mr. Zhong.